Hello, and welcome back to my channel, Navigating Midlife Live. I think I have a very timely topic for today's episode: menopause, beyond AI and apps, and figuring out what works for you. Um, I hear a lot of people saying, well, I'll just use AI or I'll just use an app. And okay, that's valid. I get it. Some people, like to use those tools, and they can be beneficial. But I thought I would do a little bit of research just to see what some of the numbers are. And of course, I can tell you that the clients that I've worked with, I think every single one of them has used an app in the past, and every single one of them has put the weight back on. Now, that's no reflection on them. I believe that is a reflection based on what the apps or what AI can do for you. So I did a bit of research, and I've got the numbers in front of me here just because I like to, be precise on the numbers. So overall, app usage, over 60% are women. And the app usage within North America is even a little bit higher. It's about 68% overall. But here's one of the things that I guess comes to mind for me. Um, I went to school for 2 years to learn about nutrition. This isn't something that I decided to do one day and started calling myself a nutritionist. I went to school because I did want to make sure that the knowledge that I did have was correct, and I further wanted to deepen that knowledge. Um, so when we're talking about an app or if we're talking about AI, of course, a lot of that information it's taking from various sources. Apps are developed in certain ways to help people. But even if we look back at all of the different programs, that have been popular over many, many years, I don't even know if all of them are around, but I think Weight Watchers is still around. I don't know if things like Jenny Craig and I think there was a few others out there. I don't know if they're still around. I noticed that the one that was close to where I live has closed down. So I don't know if that's sort of a sign of the times that people are doing this stuff more themselves because they weren't getting the results that they were looking for, and perhaps feel that if they take it into their own hands, they might be more successful at it. And some people are, some women are, most definitely. I do not deny that. But here's the thing with apps, and this is where I feel that I offer that big difference is an app in the majority of cases, and I'm going based on I personally haven't used any of the diet apps out there. I haven't had a need to, but all of them, from what I've been told, are based on reducing calories. So for women in menopause, if you've watched any of my other previous lives, that is not advisable. This is not about reducing calories. Releasing weight is not about reducing calories. It's about eating the calories that are going to give your body what it needs, as opposed to reducing calories. And in fact, in most cases, well, no, not in most cases, in all cases, I have my clients eating more than what they were eating previously and what they were eating when they were using an app. Now, I haven't worked with somebody who has been utilizing AI because it's still kind of relatively new, and there's a lot of people that don't trust some of the information that comes out of it as well too. So I think that that's one issue as well too. Now, the other part, this is what I feel is really missing. You are not static. So when you're starting to work with the app or work with AI, you're giving it this scenario of, where you are, where you want to be. Okay, fine. And it's going to give you advice based on that. But you're not static. There's things that can happen. Seasons change and people tend to eat differently during those seasons. So is that information that AI or the app is going to give you? are you going to think of putting that information into the app? So for example, sometimes we don't know what questions or what information we should give something. You know, many years ago, way back in 2001, when I entered into the technology industry, even before that, even when I worked with Royal Bank, we always used to say garbage in, garbage out. So if you weren't putting the right information into, the terminal when I worked at the bank, we wouldn't get the right information back. It was the same thing when I worked in the technology industry. If you're not putting the correct information into the software that you're working with, it's not going to give you back the right information. So we don't always know what we don't know. And as I say, you're not static. There are things that can start to change. So you might start releasing the weight. Okay, what does that look like? Are you going to continue? As I say, most apps are recommending reducing calories. Are you going to continue reducing those calories? And yes, the clients that I've worked with, they have lost, decent amounts of weight when they were working with the apps. But again, the moment they stopped using the app, then the weight started to go back on. This is the other part that I'm extremely passionate about is I always tell anybody that's going to be working with me, we are not putting you on a diet. This isn't something that you're going to follow just for X number of weeks and, you know, release the weight that you want to release or solve whatever menopause symptom you want to solve. And then we're going to stop and everything should be fine. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. What I teach is permanent lifestyle change. So I'm providing, um, I guess, guidance on lifestyle changes that you can make, but they're also permanent. This is something that I always say the plan that I give you is what you can follow for the rest of your life because I'm instilling lifestyle changes. Now, are there other tweaks that I might make? It might be supplementation, or, sometimes I have clients that will say to me, I'm going away. I'm a little bit nervous about, how should I eat while I'm going to be away? These are the things that we can talk about. The other part that, put AI aside for a second, but the other part that apps can't do is they don't teach you how to connect into your body. And I feel that that is one of the most important things for women is connecting into their bodies. So many women, by the time they start navigating the stages of menopause, they're very disconnected from their bodies. They're not listening to the hunger signals. They're not listening to the fact that they actually do need some sleep, that they shouldn't be burning the candle at both ends. They're not always listening. And I'm even guilty of this, not always listening when our body needs movement, because we get working on something or we're working on a project, and very typical for women to say, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. I've got to work on this right now. So those are the things that when you're working with a human that actually I think brings a deeper connection to what you are doing and the goals that you want to achieve. And the other thing is if you've had a really bad day and sometimes I have clients that tie into the cookies and ice cream or whatever, or indulge in something that really doesn't make them feel that great, and takes them further away from their goal. Having somebody to talk to about why that happened and, uh, I guess putting it into perspective. I always say to my clients that, one bad meal, or I hate to use the word bad, but one meal that takes you further away from your goal doesn't mean that every meal after that has to take you further away from your goal. You've got the next meal that you can make the change to get back on track and work towards your goal again. So, that's, I think, one of the things that the apps does and the apps don't provide. AI AI has definitely, it does have a more, what would I say, introspective side. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it does have, it's been taught to have some level, I guess, of compassion or empathy or niceness to it. But I've heard of scary situations as well too, where AI has given people really bad advice or support that's actually made the person feel worse. So these are the things that um, I guess these are the things that I'm focusing on. I'm wanting to know what you're feeling like. How are things going? And I do have clients. I mean, when I work with clients, there is an app that I get them to use so that they can track their food just so I can see where things are at. They also track their mood, their activity, their bowel movements, their sleep. And I start to see correlations between things that are happening. So it gives me the opportunity to talk to them. Now, one of the things that an app won't tell you, an app can, if you take a picture, there's apps out there that will say, okay, overall, this meal is either too high in carbs, too high in sugars, too high in protein, whatever. That's fine, but it's not giving you the information as to why, especially when it comes to sugars. Why is this meal too high in sugars? And, case in point, I had a client using another app to track her meals. And a breakfast that she was having, it said it was too high in sugars, but it didn't tell her why. And, no slight, she thought it was a very healthy breakfast, but it was oatmeal with raisins. Well, oatmeal is higher in carbs. Yes, it has a protein portion to it, but raisins are extremely high in sugar and they're extremely high in fructose sugar, which is basically automatically processed by the liver. So that starts to add on to issues with blood sugar and potentially can further increase if somebody's starting to get a congested liver. It can add to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So these are the things that the apps don't do, and I do believe that a certain amount of education is important. Maybe not initially to get people going, but then over time I do believe that it is important to start to learn some of these things so that when you're out or away on vacation or whatever, you can, scan the buffet or whatever you're eating, scan the menu and say, oh, okay, this meal has more of the way that I want to eat, and that's going to get me to my goal. So, those are a few things that I feel are really important to share. And the other part, so we did a little bit more research and how sustainable are these changes? And in I believe that the number was about 80%. 80% of the women using the apps or AI have lost the weight. But after 12 months, only about 25 to 35% of the women had sustained weight loss. The majority of the women have all gained that weight back. So the women that I'm working with, that has been the case, that they just got tired of going through these various programs and losing the weight and putting it back on, taking it off, putting it back on. And, when I'm working with them, they're learning these permanent lifestyle habits and they are sustainable. Do they sometimes fall off? Absolutely. But that's where they've got me to check in on them. How's it going? What are you struggling with? I notice that maybe you haven't been journaling, and it's not, you know, I don't want to be like, the boss or whatever, sort of micromanaging. That's not what I do. But I can tell when clients start to fall off because they don't record as often, or they might not be quite as communicative as they were in the past. And that's where I keep track and reach out. Hey, how's it going? Is there anything that I can support you with right now? The other part that I really believe that's important as well too is, yes, nutrition is one aspect, but then there is the mental and emotional aspect, understanding what somebody's going through. You can tell an app or you can tell AI, what's going on, that maybe your mood's not good or you're unhappy or you're stressed or whatever. Um, but having the conversation with somebody who has the experience, that's been there. I was in the corporate world when I was going through menopause, and especially perimenopause and just the early stages of menopause and postmenopause. I know how hard it was. And I was in a male dominated industry. I felt very alone, most definitely. And a lot of days, the reactions that I got from my male counterparts were not a lot of fun, because it all of a sudden it was like there was something wrong with me, and there really wasn't anything wrong with me. But their reactions to, sometimes if I was having a hot flash in the middle of doing a demo of the software to C-level people. So anyway, having somebody that I could have talked to afterwards about those situations, and maybe even having some guidance on some of the discussions that I could maybe have with my colleagues who were men, to help them understand a little bit more that I don't want to be pointed out at that moment. Are you okay? Your face is turning red. Like, that's the last thing you want to hear from your colleague in a meeting. Yes, appreciate the concern, but that's sort of the last thing you want to be pointed out at. But yeah, having somebody to talk to that's been through these things, I think is extremely important. The other component that I feel is really important is, when I'm working with my clients, we're constantly monitoring how they're feeling. And, one of the things that I do with my clients is I ask them for recent blood tests. So I want to see, where their blood is at, what's happening within their system, and whether there's things that we need to take note of. Now, I know you could upload that information to AI and it could, probably give you some good information. I'm not sure if there's apps. There probably are certain apps out there where you can upload that information as well too. But having somebody that can actually look at these things and start to ask questions, what kind of meals did you have before you went for your blood test? Did you exercise the day before? Or, how did you sleep? All of these things can be little keys that can have a nuance effect on what's showing up in the blood tests. And sometimes, again, no slight to medical doctors, but they run a certain battery of tests. And there are tests beyond what sort of their norm is that I feel are important to run, to see what's going on with a person. And they're not always tests that doctors request, but they do give additional insights as to what might be going on with that person. So, what is the conclusion to all of this? Well, I would say that if you are the type of person that you're very dedicated and you are a learner and you're going to do additional research beyond what the app or AI is telling you, then great, this might be the right solution for you. But as I say, I went to school for 2 years so that you don't have to. You don't have to do that research. And as I say, you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what questions to ask or how to, I guess, challenge the result that you might be getting from the app or from AI. So, what if your solution to having permanent lifestyle change was a combination of both? And that's where, as I said, I do work with an app with my clients. I do have some clients that have chosen to use other apps and provide me with feedback on what those apps are telling them. I don't review that information because it means I have to learn another app. I've got a great app that I work with already. But what if the combination of the two, having that additional guidance along with what AI and the app are telling you, what if that was your solution to having the permanent lifestyle change that you want going forward? Because I truly believe that menopause is an opportunity to really embrace this next stage of your life. And the changes that we make now can really empower us to lead the most healthy life going forward. So, what I'd like to do is, and I don't see any questions today, so I'll give it a minute. And then, if anybody has any questions, by all means, let me know. But I'm going to bring my banner up here. And if you are, you know, I guess frustrated, confused, feeling lost, feeling alone, tired of the apps, tired of AI, want to work with a real person, you have nothing to lose by scheduling a call with me and let's have a chat. Let's have a chat about where you're at, what your frustrations have been, what struggles you've had, and go from there. Who knows? It might be the solution that you need. And it's hard to really, hopefully, you get a sense of who I am, but I'm extremely compassionate. I'm extremely supportive to my clients. I love what I do. I really love what I do. And I believe that no woman has to suffer through the stages of menopause. I believe every woman can feel amazing in menopause. And, part of my mission is for the women that I work with to say, I love menopause. Because I do. I love being in it. But it did take time for me to figure out what I needed to do to support my body. So, anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. If you've got questions, by all means, post them below, or you can message me directly. And I'd like to thank you for joining or watching. If you're watching the replay, you can, and you have a question, just put in, replay, and I'll answer your question. But yeah, next week I will absolutely have a guest. I thought I was going to have her this week, but our scheduling didn't work. So she will be joining me next Tuesday. I'll give you more information about that when I post all the information on social media and send out my newsletter. But yeah, thank you for joining. I hope you have a great day and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Thank you. Bye.